We're on time. Hey everybody, my name's Dom, and I'm a bit of an oddity at this event because I'm not actually a technical person, I'm a marketing person. Shock horror, what the hell is a marketer doing on a stage at an event like this? I've actually been involved with MacAd though for the last 9 years. In 2016, if any of you were here, I was the guy behind the video camera. 9 years is a long time, we move on. And I come into agents really through data science and through data science LLMs and from LLMs into agents because I'm a commercial marketer, so I'm involved in helping companies make as much money as they can from their products, pricing, route to market, all that kind of stuff. I'm also these days a CEO. Selby Anderson is a group of 5 marketing agencies. We've got about 150 people. And marketers by nature are a little bit like technologists. They like to make things and build things and play with things. And I'm going to show you today what I've been working on, and you'll see instantly some of the flaws in it. We only know what we know, and so when I find something that's new, it's new to me, probably not new to you. But the nice thing about this being a conference and not a lecture is that we can confer. So if you see something you disagree with, or you don't like, or you think is not right, then let's talk about it, and let's confer at today's conference, because generally I think things are moving so fast at the moment in AI with the number of different LLMs there are, the number of different platforms, the new agentic platforms that are joining things together, the automated workflows. It's kind of hard for anyone to keep up. And so it's hard for someone like me because my job is to know where we're going. I'm the CEO, I'm supposed to be looking to the future, but I haven't got a clue, honestly. And that's how I got involved in this kind of thing, and that's why I'm here. There's also 2 other events actually that I would recommend just from the agenda if you haven't seen them. Mark Hull this afternoon at 4:15 is talking about Copilot. I'm not going to talk about Copilot or any other embedded tools at all. That's not what I'm talking about today. And Holly Foxcroft at 4:15 in Oxford is talking about rethinking security in the age of autonomy as well. So I thought, how can I make this presentation go completely wrong? And it's like, let's try and build something live while I talk. So that's what we're going to do. And I spoke to my twin brother who works for Jigsaw and said, if you could have anything right now, what would you want? And he said, I want a platform that has an agent that gives me hints at what I can sell to my customers. So I thought, well, that sounds like a pretty good idea. So let's quickly, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Let's quickly, here we go, there we go, it worked. Is it working? Nearly. Let's try pressing that one more time. That's not working. Okay. On my screen somewhere, we'll have to do this the old-fashioned way. I'd coded in something to make this easier, so just bear with me. Got to go through my shortcuts again. Escape out of you. Blank screen. Is this only working for keynotes? Can I drag something else onto this screen? I want to get this browser on the screen. How am I going to do that? Ah, there it is. Hey, it's there. Right, okay, cool. So this is Lovable. Anyone use Lovable or Bolt or anything like it? Okay, so Lovable is an agentic platform that builds applications. It will build or scaffold this application while we speak in about 20 minutes. So right now I'm going to go on here. This is basically the prompt that I just had in the other window. I'm going to press build or go like that. And off we go. It's going to test how good the Wi-Fi is now. So what it's doing is it's taking that prompt, it's analyzing it, it's setting its agentic platform to work, it's looking at the different modules it's going to need to build, and with any luck, it'll show you something. Now, I have created one earlier, which I can come back to later. So that's going to work in the background. It's supposed to be doing stuff now, but ignore that. We'll come back to that in a minute. So this is where I think we all are at the moment, living hell. And you are about to experience what I experienced about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So technology's created this thing called a shadow marketer inside organizations where anyone thinks they can do marketing because they've got access to desktop publishing tools and digital and building tools. And AI is kind of doing the same thing. And unless we're really careful, it's going to degrade how people think about IT within businesses, because they're going to think that anyone can do it. And that's exactly what's happening in marketing organizations right now. Think about your own marketing department. Hopefully you've got super commercial people driving it. If you think of them as a colouring in department, that's the evidence I'm talking about. And what's the risk of all of this kind of stuff? Well, these photographs are taken this week at the Co-op. Now, I'm not saying this is an agent attack. In fact, I'm telling you it's definitely not an agent attack. We know what it is. Bad actors have basically used humans to hack into their system. Their supply chain has been disrupted. But with what we know about agentic platforms and agents, there are automations being planned and built by organizations like this right now. And 20 years ago, when I ran a shipping company, a wholesaler, I should say, rather than a shipping company. I'm not Greek. We had algorithms doing all of our stock forecasting and our ordering. What we didn't have was agents that could automatically do it. They didn't have agency. But where we're going, if you want to disrupt a companies like this business, well, you hack their agents. And so we're entering this kind of AI Cold War, where bad actors don't need to hack our organizations anymore. They can just start playing with our agents. And I've got 3 examples here: dataset poisoning, backdoor tampering, and API exploits. Dataset poisoning isn't new either. All you need to do is look at the election in the US 2 times ago when Cambridge Analytica got involved. That was dataset poisoning. So there's a brand risk there, but more particularly, if we're building AI agents that are going to make decisions for us, if they're basing those decisions on bad data, we're going to have bad decisions. So that's where I see at least the threat to be right now. So what is an agent? Well, there are lots of definitions of agents. These are 4 categories that I came up with a little bit of help from research from my own LLM platforms. There's basically a bunch of activities across the top. They've given some names across the bottom. I don't think those are particularly helpful. I prefer them to have numbers, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. But basically, they each have different roles to do. They each have different levels of responsibility, and they each have different risk levels. So my level 1 agent is the kind of stuff that a lot of people are probably playing with already: transcription services, that kind of stuff. So automatically logging into my Teams call, automatically transcribing, automatically doing a summary, automatically sending to everybody, no human touch needed. So those are the kind of level 1 things that they are. You don't really need to have any oversight of a level 1. They're automated. Level 2, things start to get a little bit more complicated. They're writing documents for you, so you're going to want to make sure that it's where you want to be, writing FAQs, doing some basic work. Level 3, I'll make this available afterwards, by the way, if anyone wants to see any of these things. Level 3 is getting much more important: decision support. Like what are we going to do? For example, in my own organization, when we start thinking about things like options programs for our team, my advisor agent is helping me understand how to structure my options programs. So really quite significant things, important to people, therefore oversight is high. And the final level, level 4, is an executive agent, although I think only a lunatic at this stage would actually let them press the button and do things. This is really high stakes. I'm going to come back to these 4 in just a minute, because it's when these things come together that actually we start seeing real power. So an agent on its own can do things. An agentic platform can do a hell of a lot. And an agentic platform is either made up of these agents that we have built, or if you take something like Nodemation, or you can use Zapier, or Lovable, which we just showed you, or UiPath, then you can use those to harness agents to start building automated workflow routines. And in my industry, in marketing services, unfortunately, people are using N8N or Nodemation to build content generation engines that are just spewing more and more useless content onto LinkedIn. It's a bad use of that technology. But the thing is, people will build. And so we're entering this kind of really weird stage where something that would typically have been in the control of your teams, i.e. building and deploying technology, is done by people who frankly haven't got a clue. People like me. This is me here, featuring Dom from marketing. and I want to tell you a story to illustrate this, and then I'm going to show you the product, because this is true, by the way. All of this is true. I was in a wine bar. I asked ChatGPT to do an impersonation of me, and that's as far as we got. I'm in a wine bar with a client of mine who is super smart and very tech-enabled. And he said, I've just been to a conference. I've seen some really cool AI agents. What are you building? He said. And to my shame, I wasn't building anything at all. I'd done a couple of custom GPTs, and we were experimenting with stuff. But I hadn't actually built anything myself. He talked to me about a customer avatar that he had seen at this event. And it's amazing. They've built a virtual customer, he said. They've built a virtual customer, and I can have a conversation with it about anything to do with my business. It's really good for testing ideas, testing messages, that kind of stuff. And my natural question was, how accurate is it? He said, well, actually, it's 70% accurate with human studies. And now, I'm a statistics skeptic, so 70% instantly gets my back up, and I think, okay, we'll come back to that. And what he's done, of course, the company had done is they've built a RAG model. So they have Llama on one end, and I've seen 4 or 5 variants of this. They have Llama typically because they're trying to create it in a secure environment rather than on an open platform. And then they're building a customer profile, an ICP or a segmentation, whatever you want to call it, a description of a customer. They're embedding it, they're putting it in a vector database, and they're forcing that into the prompt. So a typical RAG model. And that's giving them their 70%. Okay, so what do we know about LLMs? Well, we know that they're basically probabilistic machines. It's all about probability. So it's a next best word generator focusing on the most probable next word. And in the case of a 70% likelihood, because of the way that the distribution curve works, 70% looks like this. And that's great. If you only want to sell to the majority, or you only want to understand what's going on in the majority. Now, in this case, he wants to use it for research. There's an enormous area on this side, untouched, and there's an enormous area on this side, untouched. And what do we know about research? This is where the interesting shit happens. It's not in the middle. We all know that stuff already. So 70% isn't that interesting. So he thinks he's got this beautiful, beautiful synthetic customer that he can make decisions with. What he's actually got is a slightly Pinocchio-style liar that's guaranteed to get it wrong 30% of the time. And that got me thinking, like, what can I build, or how can I improve on what other people are doing to try and build a model myself or try and get ahead? And the big challenge for me as a CEO, and I think probably in your organizations too, because of the way things are moving, they're going so fast, is how do they get their heads around what to do, like which areas of the business to focus on, what are the risks, etc. So I think what we need is a framework. And I had an idea, which became an opinion. It's still an opinion, but if we, and this is kind of why I'm testing it here. This is my opinion. I'll explain it in a minute. And if we think this is good, it may even become policy. So this is the effort perfection curve. It's a standard curve. And on one side, you've got effort. Well, there's also a proxy. Risk and budget means the same thing. So budgets go up exponentially too, the closer you get to perfection, but so does risk. And on the perfection side, you've got criticality of outcome, i.e., would I bet my life on something down here? Don't think so. And effectiveness, i.e., is what I'm trying to build going to work? So you get 3 distinct zones. And the green zone, if you like, somewhere between 70 and 80% is trivial. It's really easy to get to. What hopefully is being built in the background right now while we're doing this talk by Lovable, that platform, it's trivial. It's easy to do. It's going to be done in 20 minutes. It's not anything that we would be able to take out to work. But as we start going down here, you get more and more and more and more work. Now, if you take this as an arbitrary scale of 0 to 100, ChatGPT, by the way, or OpenAI is on this curve too. They just happen to be right at the top. And there are billions and billions and billions of pounds, or dollars, has got them to the top of the curve. So this is also a useful tool, by the way, if someone's challenging you and saying, our competitors are spending loads on AI, what are we doing? Or they're doing loads in AI, what are we doing? Like, big companies can do this, or venture-backed companies can do this. Small to medium-sized businesses, they're down here. So whatever they're doing right now is trivial. That's kind of how I see it. Anyway, moving on. We've got 3 zones. That was a bit great. Green zone, low stakes, trivial. I'm not going to dwell on these or read them out because you can probably read faster than I can speak. but basically really suitable right now for things to do in AI and automation, right? So this is good enough. Transcription, headlines, drafting unimportant documents, all that kind of stuff. Then you've got your medium stake use cases. Those are more in-depth, more analytical. Like the open platforms aren't great for these, which is why you might want to think about a RAG or an agent. They're limited by tokens on input as well as output. I found that out the hard way, particularly custom GPT, very limited on its input tokens. So if you try to do anything that's deeply analytical in text, you may need to build an agent or build a platform for that. And then finally, we've got our red zone, where anything that's involving something that absolutely has to be right. Like, I'll show you this in a minute, but Lovable can get us most of the way there. But the problem with the platforms like Lovable, the agentic platforms like that at the moment, is because they can only take you really, hopefully it's going to, yeah, because they can only take you up to here. The further you try and get those platforms to bring you up the curve, they'll break as much as they make. So at some stage, you use those agentic platforms for scaffolding, and then you go offline and start doing it the hard way. At that point, you need an expert. So if you then think about the effort perfection curve and look back at your level agents, so level 1 and 2 are down in here, which is what I'm calling the automation zone. This is where now I'm focusing my teams. So I'm giving everybody license to build utility agents, to automate as much as they can. Support agents, a little bit harder, but more experienced senior people are probably working in that area. And this isn't an area for the rest of, for my wider team. But the job of leadership in here, so my whole team is working about these, but the job of leadership, including IT, is to take this bar, which is in my organization actually probably more realistically at about 70, and move it in this direction. So we're trying to extend the automation zone so we can reduce our headcount and we can increase the amount of efficiency in our organization. So that's that. And if we go back then to the model or the story that I started, which was how do I build a better and more effective model? Well, in terms of hierarchy, you either invest, like take yourself up the curve, and you invest in your own, training your own model, or you get better inputs. How do you get better inputs? So here's the model that they had. They're using Llama. It doesn't matter which one you use. I'm actually using a combination in the one I'm about to show you. But my thought was, if you want to improve the engine, you need more vectors, basically, in your embedding. So it's not enough just to know who the customer is. You've got to know what's going on in the market, and you've got to know what the company's doing. And so that led me to Lovable. So I was actually sitting at the dentist. I was 30 minutes early for my appointment, and I thought, how can I use this time? I know, let's build a website. So I went to Lovable. This is the actual prompt that I used. And it came back very quickly with the trivial bit, up to 70%. Now, two things to note here. One is it started inventing features that I hadn't even thought of or specified, including a newsletter. And two is from its platform, it's identified a look and feel for the website. And here it is. So this is Talkwire. And Talkwire is a news website in the automotive aftermarket. So I'm focusing on a very, very tight niche. I'm trying to build an expert agent in the automotive aftermarket. I want to be able to talk to it as a customer, but I want that customer to have perfect knowledge about everything that's going on in that business. If the link works, I can press explore. It'll take you to the live site. There we go. There's the live site. Okay. So, okay, it's broken. Look at that. Perfect. So the main story is broken. The support stories, they look all right. So this is completely 100% automated apart from the bugs that I haven't yet fixed. And better than that. So I get very excited about this because this now has, I'm going to try and calm down. Otherwise I'm going to go even faster. Right. So Noah Wire is a website. This guy, Ivan Massow, spent 3 years amassing all the RSS feeds that he could find in the world, sucking them into a database and sticking an AI layer on top of it. So you can go in, and this is my prompt. So originally I had 5 different feeds, one for each category that, in fact, that Lovable had specified for me. Then I realized, because I want to scale this thing, I'm going to build 25 of these sites, not one, because each one is relevant to one of my client markets. So this is the prompt that I use. It interrogates his database and creates an RSS feed for me. That then goes into, oh, hello emojis. That goes into Superbase, which I'm using as my web database. And if I just look at my tables, now all of this stuff was set up for me originally by, here we go, how many got? 2,429 now, 2,429 articles. To build a RAG engine, they said you needed 800 to 1,000. So I've now got the knowledge I need in here to run my own RAG. I'm now managing that code on GitHub, and I don't know if you can see that, whether it's bright enough. It's not mirrored on my screen, unfortunately, but somewhere down here I've got my OpenAI prompt. Oh, here we go. So written into my metadata extractor, I've got a Python file, and it forces this prompt into OpenAI. And what it does is it reads and understands the article. It sets a canonical category for that article. So if you remember, there were 11 different categories across the top. And I started with 5 coming from Noah, but I realized actually I needed the AI to set the category, or it was going to be too manual. I needed everything to be automated. So when I had 800 articles, I ran them through the OpenAI API and asked it to suggest which categories I should be having. And I then rewrote the code so that now it categorizes everything under one of these. So each of these now can be a separate feed. Each of these now can be sent as a digest in the morning. So I've got 3 revenue models I can attach to this. There's a low value, high volume membership to get the news site. There's a summary coming daily. And then I can build a RAG engine using the market knowledge that's coming off the back end of here. And the AI is doing some really cool things in the background. So there are 2 databases. One is the news. The other one is going to run my RAG model. But if I refresh this after 15 minutes, it'll change the front articles so that you always see something new if you're a regular user. It lists my most frequent here, then my next 5 most frequent here. Then I've got down the page, I've got some news and brief sections and the ability to run bookmarks, because in the background I'm also running really detailed analytics, because I want to know which users are using which content, who's interested in what. That allows me to go talk to them some more. And now I've taken it off Lovable, because Lovable was breaking too much. So I've deployed it now using Vercel. And the challenge is I can't code, right? I have no idea how to code. And this is the challenge you have, that people in your organization are doing shit like this. And I have no idea where my data vulnerabilities are. At the moment, it was okay. It's kind of okay because it was deployed to the cloud and it was only running through Lovable. But as soon as I took it onto my own machine, well, it made sense for me to start using Terminal. And if I'm going to run Terminal, then I need to use Homebrew. And if I'm going to do that, then I'm starting to do all sorts of things on my Mac that you don't want me to be doing because I have no idea what I'm doing. And if I then start accessing customer data to start enhancing this kind of model, we've got even bigger problems than that. Let me just refresh this, because it should have come up with something. And if it's not, as I said, I've got one I've created earlier. Oh, Lovable's not playing at all, is it? Huh.
It's waiting for a prompt.
Is it? I can't see it.
Yeah.
Where's that?
At the bottom.
Oh. Well, there should be a display here. Luckily, I created one earlier. I'm going to go to that one. Go to dashboard. It's quite hard when it's not mirrored. Right. Oh yeah, that one's still blank. But this is the same. Oh no, that's Talent Bench. That's the next new project. See, this is the problem. Once you start building, you can't stop. That's Auto Lovables, Insight Agent Command Center. I think this might be it. This might be it. This is one we built earlier. It'll do. It was going to come back with the same thing. It's an MSP reporting tool with full-on integration. It created this. It takes about 20 minutes to create it. Most of these links are going to be broken. So what it does is it creates it to start with just as a wireframe to make sure that the UI is okay and you can have a look at the settings. The very next thing it says is connect your Superbase. So the next thing you do is create Superbase. It will write the SQL. It will create the tables. If you ask it to, it will populate them with dummy data. It will then connect them to your front end. It'll then tell you to connect to GitHub. It'll create a repo for you there. And then at some stage, you can deploy it. It took me 3 hours, 4 hours, I think, probably with TalkWire, to get it from nothing to a domain, a custom domain, deployed, ready to show to the market. Now, the front end hasn't changed a lot since then. The back end has changed an awful lot. And I'm now at the stage where I just met with our tech team yesterday to say, hands up, this is way beyond my ability, and I'm now straying into some kind of dodgy data areas. Yeah. So that is, that's TalkWire. That was a cue for me to go back to the previous screen to show you what it had built. It would have built something like the thing that I showed you. And so I think, look, right now, I think my message, and the reason I asked to speak here was that I think there are people right now building shit in the background in your business that you probably don't know about. And they're probably taking liberties with their terminal window. And it doesn't take long. 2 months ago, I didn't have a clue how to do any of this. I still don't, by the way. I can't cut code. I can read it now, and I can run terminal, and I understand Git commands. So you learn very quickly, and that makes it even worse. Because a little knowledge, like no knowledge is bad, but a little knowledge is really dangerous. And I think, so the core premise of the talk, when I put it together, was that inside a marketing organization, the commercial team should be, ideally, the marketers. They're the ones that are supposed to come up with the products and understand the customer and all that kind of stuff. And because of that, they're very likely to try and build things. But unless they do it with you guys, unless they do it with people who actually understand the implications of the data and the links and the security and the layers of sophistication that go into those models, there's going to be trouble ahead. So for me, and it was interesting actually. So we're a Jigsaw 24 customer, and I shot a webinar with them last week, and they asked me, they said, what do you think the future of services with MSPs look like to, organizations like yours? Like, yes, okay, all the Mac management, or we're a mixed OS company, so we've got Macs and PCs, and we've got Google, and we've got Office 365. So we let people choose their own devices and all that kind of stuff, which makes our MSP's job a little bit harder. But that stuff's kind of table stakes, and they're really good at it, and I get a report every month, and everything's other. What I really need is people I can sit down with and say, we're building agentic platforms. The ultimate vision is, like, we need to do what Y Combinator calls a full stack AI platform that's going to completely wipe out the rest of our business, ideally. But I can't do that unless I've got some really smart tech brains in the room with me. So I don't have an IT department at all anymore. But the future of that from an MSP for me is more on the consult side. Like, how do we make advantage or take advantage of all the data that we've got? And for example, right now, I'm running all of my semantic metadata extraction is being done by OpenAI, and it's really expensive, OpenAI. So I'm looking at using DeepSeek for it. But actually, rather than doing that, it might be better for me to do it inside either AWS or inside Azure using other tools. I don't know. I'm thinking, I know it's too expensive. I know there's a better way, but I don't know how to do it. And that's why I think the future is probably a bestie relationship between marketing and IT, because basically we need your help. Yeah. And that's all I have for you today, unless you have any questions. No? Oh, well, thank you.
Well, thank you. I think it was a very inspiring pitch, but you just did that. It's really good. The one thing that I didn't pick up in your presentation was your focus on existing data, how you store it, how you access it.
Yeah. So,
because an AI is only ever as good as the quality of your data.
Yeah.
And so far, you've only demonstrated data that is already out in the world.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So there's sort of a reason for that. That. Like, I'm not stupid, and I know that I have no knowledge of how to secure that kind of data or how to build an architecture that will allow me. And also, we have 200 clients. It would be their data I'm trying to get hold of. So we have a lot of clients in financial services, for example. A lot of them are public companies. 2 of them are financial market infrastructure companies. It's market-moving data. So, like internally, we can't store their data on the same server as anyone else, so we've got big security around it. So I can't do anything with their data. For other customers, we possibly could. But for me to start with, so bear in mind that it was 2 months ago that I was in that wine bar and the guy asked a question. And I'm having to do this in my spare time because I've got a day job, so evenings and weekends is what I'm using to build. I started with external data because the missing piece for me, that bit's really easy. You go to a customer and say, describe your ICP to me, describe what your likes and dislikes. And I know Waitrose, for example, have just got one of these apparently. If there's anyone from John Lewis Partnership here, I'll be interested to talk to you. But I know they've just built one of these. But it doesn't have really important other bits like market data and company data. So bear in mind, my job is service provision to other people.
Yeah.
And while I have, so this company data is kind of my client data, I guess, but I haven't built that in yet. I don't know how to do that architecture. Honestly, I don't know how to do it.
Probably customer service is probably your go-to platform to do that.
Okay.
Because the customer service is a department within your organization that talks both to the world and also collects all the data and brings it in internally. So that would be your number one source to
so the client data we have, I've got, I think it's 13 terabytes or something at the moment sitting in Azure. And because we're a marketing agency, people tell us all of their company details.
Yeah.
And it's all unstructured, and I've got 20 years of data. So my challenge to start with is working out how to make sense of it. But I take your point. I think what I'm trying to illustrate here is that there are shadow IT people already building stuff. And I think you've illustrated perfectly that, like, we just don't know what we're doing.
No, and that's why I think you come to the right place. And I'm a little bit sad there are so few people sitting here in this session because IT does need to be made aware that this is probably happening right now within their organizations without them knowing. Yeah. And
they probably worked out I'm a marketing person, I thought. I'm fine for PowerPoint, thanks. Yeah.
No,
so
it's a very good. You've been really helpful to me too, because I'm just about to walk down this path.
Okay.
And start thinking about how to do this for the organization that I work for, and you definitely gave me some thought on how to approach it the right way. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, that we should be doing to support someone doing this? Because I don't know if it's terrifying or inspiring. It's probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
So how would we help you? Because I think we want businesses to work as far as they can, do as much as they can.
So I think the starting point. Look, are there any marketers in the room? Is Aid still here? Look, the starting point is, I'm going to get shocked because this is on video. The starting point is that in a lot of organizations, marketing departments have become marketing communications departments, not marketing departments. And a marketing department back in the day used to be a commercial driving engine of the business. So I think within your own businesses, you need to identify who's creating value, making strategy. Like a lot of what used to be called marketing is now done by people who don't have marketing in their job title. I did a whole podcast about this, 112 episodes. It's called Unicorny, if you're interested. But a lot of that commercial stuff is being done by other people. You need to identify who they are and go talk to them, because they will want to be building this. They will want to be taking their data and doing stuff with it. But a lot of them don't know where to start. I just had 25 minutes in a dentist chair, or before I went into the dentist chair, and I'd just come the day before from a client who'd shamed me because we weren't doing anything, which was my trigger to start. But I've been thinking about this shit for 4 years. I just haven't done anything because I didn't know where to start, and I didn't have anyone that could point me. Yeah. So I think a really good starting point is look at who's driving value, who the commercial people are, and go see them and say, hey, look, we should be doing something.
Yeah, just to answer, add to your question, I think it needs to be a proactive approach.
Yeah.
So the IT department needs to proactively reach out to the marketing and to engage and ask them what they're doing. But the same thing for marketing, they need to proactively reach out to the IT department to say, hey, we are about to explore this and this and these things, and what do you think? So the best way to do that is to get IT presence in your marketing meetings.
And it may not be marketing as well. It may be customer service.
Yes,
Like it's
yeah.
good. Whoever is closest to the customer is probably thinking about this stuff.
You know, because with the RAG models now, you can unleash that on almost every single department in your organization. So you need to have your IT department involved in every single department meeting, department or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you need to start learning what they're doing within your organization so that you can adapt and also from a security point of view, anticipate what's going on within your business.
Yeah, which means then, you know, the IT is the enabler. You know, it's a cliche to say every company is a technology company, but if it isn't already or thinking about it, you know, anything of scale certainly won't exist. So IT needs to be an enabler, and I think you're right, it needs to be proactive.
Yeah, and you know, you can't, just like you demonstrated perfectly in this demonstration today, you can't rely on people like marketing or any other department that's outside of your IT department, not even the developers. You can't rely on them knowing exactly how your data infrastructure is secure.
Yeah.
And that is something that belongs to your IT department. And if the IT department are just sitting there waiting for instructions to know how to make things secure, then everything is just going the way you presented it, and then they will miss the boat, and suddenly something goes wrong, and the IT department never was aware of it.
Yeah.
So it is really essential that from an organization that wants to leverage agentic AI technology within the organization, both for your internal efficiencies as well as your outbound efficiencies towards the customer, that you need to get yourself, your security and IT department involved.
There we go. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
It's lunchtime. Thanks, folks.